So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a normal map based on our texture that we have in Photoshop. So there's a couple of ways to do this and prepare for it, but we're actually going to do this in XNormal. So in XNormal itself, we have these tools down here. So if I go into the tools, we've got a couple of different options that we can use. Now we do have this photo normal, but the photo normal requires more images. So we have a left lit photo, right lit, top lit and bottom lit for this to be able to create a normal map out of this. I'm not going to use this one in this instance. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use a height map to create the normal map. So a height map, we've already created one from our planks. So it's a black and white image where white is representing the convex areas, black is representing the concave areas. And what we're going to do is I'm going to create one of those from this texture in Photoshop. So let's do this. So I'm going to go in, images, adjustments, and I'm going to desaturate this image first of all to make this black and white. And then depending on the kind of effect you want, I want a bit more contrast on this. So essentially I want a bit more difference between the blacks and the whites within this image. So then we have the rizzed areas and indented areas have more contrast as well. So images, adjustments, and I'm going to go into the levels tool. And I'm going to bring this in and bring this in to give that contrast in there. And we can always play around with the gamma in the middle. So I might just kind of brighten this up, just so I bring out some of that texture in there. It all depends what you're doing with this. If I want less of the indentations, I can bring out the black and we can get rid of some of that contrast. But I'll kind of leave it at that for now. So we're getting these details out. Okay, this is quite rough wood. So I want this pattern to be quite rough on there. So I'm going to OK that. And what I'll do is I'll save this as a separate file. So I'll just do a save as. Again, I'll save this as a TGA file. I'm going to save this as wood grain underscore height. And OK. It's grayscale scale, so I don't have to actually save it as a 24-bit, but I'm not going to use this anyway. I could delete this ultimately. This is just a means to an end. So let's go into XNormal now. And I'm going to use this tool here. So this height map to normal map. So let's click on this to open it up. And we have two areas. We have our height map input and we have our normal map generation. So let's bring our height map in. I'm going to right click and browse height map. And I can just find, let's go in, wood grain height and open this up. There we have our texture that we're going to use. And just using the red channel on there, we can actually have a look at this. So if I go in these individually, we have our red channel, we have our green channel, and we have our blue channel on there. And there's not much difference between them really, so I'm going to use this. By the way, if you're looking at your mesh, your texture, sorry, depending on what you want. So what I'm looking at here is that there's knots I would expect to be indented in. If they're brighter, they're brighter pixels, then you could always do an image and adjustments and do an invert on that to change it round if you needed that to be that way. But this is fine the way it is. So just to be aware of that. So back to XNormal. Okay, this. And to create the normal map, all we need to do is just right click and click on generate. And it's pretty quick to do this. And there we have our normal map. Say depending on the kind of detail you want in there, we could always tone this down so you have a more subtle normal map. But this is fine for this. So to save this, I can just right click again and we can do a save normal map. And I'm going to save this as, let's call it wood grain underscore normal. And just save that out. Okay. And again, let's just go back to Maya. What I may actually do is just grab one of these. Just initially. Let's just do a new texture on this. So let's just assign a new material. Again, just for this instance, I'm just using a Lambert. Let's go in again, bump mapping, let's create a file node on that. Use this as a tangent space normal again. And let's click on this and let's load in our image. So in this case, this is going to be this wood grain. And there we get that wood grain on the surface there. So quite a nice way to get a texture, to get a normal map very quickly without having to model all those details. I wouldn't want to model this kind of detail, whereas the planks were quite an easy thing to do. I wouldn't want to do it to this level, especially not in Maya. So that's just one way we can do it, through using something like Photoshop to prepare our texture, and then using a package like XNormal to be able to actually bake that normal map out. And I'll leave that for there.